Very warm welcome to the new episode of Ink and Insights. This is your host Sumit Sharma Samir. This is a Nepal-based podcast, and if you're interested in listening to the thought leaders from around the world, please subscribe to my channel. I'm extremely pleased to welcome Ankit Babu Adhikari in my program today. Ankit is a writer and social science researcher. He has worked with national dailies, the Kathmandu Post, and the Himalayan Times, and is known for his long-form narrative storytelling abilities. His works have also appeared on the Washington Post and Asian Geographic. Transitioning from journalism, Ankit ventured into music in 2014, composing for the postmodern play Coma of Political Sex, staged at Silpi Theatre in Kathmandu. His music style blends Sufi, semi-classical, and fusion genres. In 2022, Ankit co-authored Sherpa, Stories of Life and Death from the Forgotten Guardians of Everest with journalist Pradeep Bashyal. The book has been published in English, Italian, and Czech and was shortlisted for the 2023 Bodman Tusker Prize for Mountain Literature. We'll talk about that book, Life of Sherpas and Mountaineering in Nepal, in today's episode. Ankit, welcome to the Ink and Insights with Sumit Sharma Samir.
Thank you so much, Sumitji, and thank you for such an elaborate introduction.
Well, I mean, you deserve it. Wear many hats. You are a writer, you are a singer, composer. You play, you act in a play. Tell us how were your interest developed in all these areas?
Actually, from very early on in my life, I have been interested. I have been, lucky to be groomed by so many good people around me. I would like to share this actually. So when I was in school, there is very prominent Nepali writer Kumar Nagarkoti. He used to be our he used to be our English teacher in the school that I went to. So I got to be in his company from the very beginning. He was not even a celebrity back then. He had not published any books, but his short story would come out in magazines every now and then, and we would just read his works, have our poems, have our writings reviewed by him. So I was very lucky in that front, and in the same school I also got to learn music. So it both started together for me. And whenever I got chance later on, after I passed my SLC from that school, I started learning music formally. I started into journalism very early on in my life. Immediately after completing my plus 2, I was still in my first year of my bachelor's degree. I was studying journalism in St. Xavier's College. There was this, a newspaper ad calling for trainee journalists in the Kathmandu Post. That's how I ended up there. So yeah, I mean, it all happened. It seems like quite a linear way that my life has been through all these different pathways. But I feel very lucky that it all happened simultaneously for me. I didn't have to make too many of compromises here and there. So yeah, I mean, it also feels a little awkward at times, but it's okay. I mean, I do what I do. So yeah, yeah,
I mean, we have to pursue what we love, right? And then it's always good to pursue what we love, and it's all a good
very
feeling.
true.
Yeah. Tell us about the your book Sherpa. How did the
Right.
idea came to your mind? You and Pradeep
Mhm.
has co-authored it together. Was there a
Yeah.
defining moment that led to this project?
Yes, actually, when I was still working with the Kathmandu Post, I worked with in the Kathmandu Post from 2010 to 2013. So between that period, I got opportunity to be friends with Pradeep. He was writing for the Nepal magazine there. He would also write for Hello Sukrabar edition of Kantipur, and even Koseli, which is the Saturday edition of
Yeah,
Kantipur. So
yeah.
uh, I got to meet Pradeep there, and we collaborated and worked on some stories together that we did for the Kathmandu Post. So we did some good stories. One of the stories, it was about the hippies movement that happened in Nepal back in
Mm,
1960s, 70s. So
wow.
that story ran a full page in the Saturday edition of the Kathmandu Post. Then it encouraged us to do more, so we did another couple of stories, which got carried very well. So that's how we got together as friends, as writers, as co-authors. And then in 2014, I had switched to the Himalayan Times from
Mm-hmm.
the Kathmandu Post, and Pradeep was still with Kantipur. So Pradeep and myself, we got this opportunity to report on uh, a marathon that was happening in the Everest region. So there was this
Okay.
marathon that went around the Gokyo Trail. uh, it's about, for normal trekkers, it's 4 to 5 days of journey from
Mm.
Namche Bazaar to round the Gokyo Trail and then back again to Namche Bazaar. So we did that trail ourselves. uh,
Right.
in between, we also went past the Renjo pass, which is about 5400, 5300 meters. So yeah, I mean, so that whole journey, it was about 5 days for us, and for the local people participating, the Sherpas, even some international athletes, for them, it was less than 24 hours, a little more than 24 hours. So yeah. So that's when we got the first opportunity to be in the land, be so close to the mountains, meet Sherpas, and we had not thought anything about writing book at that time. It was long way back in 2014. But yeah, we met some very interesting characters. There was this Sherpa who had come to participate in that marathon from Forse. He lives in Forse. And
Mm.
then he was in Namche Bazaar to do some groceries. That's what he told us when we
Right.
interviewed him after the marathon. He stood third, by the way, third or fourth. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, I mean, he had come to Namche Bazaar for some grocery shopping. He heard that there was this marathon going on, so he simply decided to participate. And
Okay.
then he took that whole trip. Like I said, it was 5 days of a tormenting journey for people like Pradeep and myself. For local people, it was less than 24 hours. Uh, so that marathon was like a luxury for him. I mean, he stopped at tea stops for Chang. He waited at the hotels for Chang. I mean, he stopped at so many locations, so
Uh,
many points, and then he completed that whole thing in
right.
less than 24 hours and stood third or fourth, I don't remember. So
Wow.
that was a fascinating story for us. It
Mm.
really, we had not, like I said, like I told you earlier, we had not made our minds about writing a book or anything like that. But
Mm.
having met such interesting characters there, and as storytellers ourselves, that must have sparked some ignited some spark within us. Then Pradeep and myself, we came back. I gradually made a switch into music. After that, I started doing some social science research as well, and Pradeep was still actively writing. He was into journalism.
Mm.
So uh, so when we came back, so initially what we thought was like we wanted to do a charity event. I was a musician, so Pradeep and myself and a couple of other friends, we thought of organizing a concert and then raising some money, helping Sherpas out there, because we also met some Sherpa porters in our journey to the Khumbu region, who were
Mm-hmm.
working without even proper boots or proper shoes. They were in slippers, walking uh, those difficult trails, 4,000, 4,500, 5,000 meters at that altitude. So that never materialized, but that's how thoughts started coming in our heads. And then I mean, uh, we would sit together, have some beer, have coffee, and then uh, we always wanted to do something together, write something, maybe organize a concert or anything. So we wanted to do something, but
Mm.
it took about 5, 6, 7 years for that idea to materialize into something that came in the shape of this book.
Right.
It was around right before the COVID lockdown started in 2019, I guess. So we were again having chatting. So uh, Pradeep had recently published a good profile on Kamirita Sherpa,
Mm.
who had, I don't know how many times exactly at that time at that point, but Pradeep did a very elaborate, comprehensive profile of Kamilita Sherpa, and it ran very well through BBC Nepali at first, and then it got carried, I think, to the BBC Global website as well. So that story had got some traction, some momentum. So we sat again, and we just casually said to each other, why not, let's collaborate on a book, something like this. It could be a biography of Kamilita Sherpa, or we could even do something elaborate and expand this to other Sherpas as well and tell their stories. So
Right.
we wrote a few pages, our concept, and then we started pitching it to publishers here and there. And fortunately, we got this very we got this uh, opportunity to get in touch with Ben, who is our agent from the Soho agency of the UK. He showed some interest, and then he started, looking for publishers, and then we ended up with Hatchet. So this all thing, it happened. Yeah,
Okay, so it's
that's how it
a
happened.
long process,
Yeah. Yes.
took a little bit of time to sort of materialize
Exactly.
what
Yes.
we have in a book form. But Ankit, tell us, how do you think? I mean, you have come up with a book on the life of
Mhm.
Sherpas. How do you think has Sherpas contributed to the mountaineering in Nepal?
Uh, I mean, to answer this question, I think it's all about Sherpas at the end of the day. When it comes to talking about mountaineering, when it comes to talking about the identity that we have as Nepalis, as the land of Mount Everest, and how thousands of people from all over the world, come over here to make their dream come true of standing on top of the world. So all of that identity, I think, is one way or the other the contribution of the Sherpas, who have been at the forefront and who have made it possible for not just the people of Nepal, not just for people like us who want to hear about interesting stories of mountaineering, of mountains, of Sherpas, their life, culture, and everything, but on a massive scale, on a global scale, where they make that possible for uh, every individual from every corner of the world. I think that's how Sherpas come into the picture when it comes to climbing, when it comes to mountaineering.
Absolutely, absolutely. They have
Yeah,
contributed hugely to the whole, the identity of our nation itself in projecting Nepal as a destination of mountaineering, isn't it?
definitely.
How do you think are younger generations of Sherpas,
Hmm.
these days, kind of navigating the intersection of tradition and modernity?
Mm. This is a very interesting question. It goes both ways. I mean, if you look at some characters in our book, there are some very young Sherpas, 17, 18, 19 years old, who want to keep climbing Everest, not like the way their forefathers did, but
Okay.
in a more and more advanced form of climbing, with uh, top notch skills, top notch training. So there are this lots of Sherpas who want to keep pursuing climbing, but
Hmm.
with a lot of upgrades into how they do things, right? So
Right.
there is this lot, but that lot, I'm afraid, is not the number of such young Sherpas. It's far too less than what it used to be a couple of decades back, or even 1 decade, or even 5 or 7 years back. I mean,
Right.
so this shows how the interest in climbing is slightly, diluting among, even within the Sherpa community. So there are a lot of factors contributing to this. Sherpas are increasingly exposed to the global world. They have access to they have access to facilities, access to good education. They want to go abroad like you know any other Nepali from any other ethnic or caste group. So
Right.
it's happening in what, in what looks like a normal Nepali thing at this moment, because
Okay.
it's a hard reality for us, right? So
Mm.
people are migrating, and even Sherpas are migrating, so to say.
तिमीसँग अब धेरै टाइम छैन है, बिहे गर्नु छ भने गरिहाल, नत्र घरबाट मलाई अन्तै बिहे गरिदिनु।
भर्खर 3 वर्ष भयो एमबीबीएस जोइन गरेको, 5 वर्षको कोर्स हो। के भो अचम्म छ। एक्सक्युज मी सर मेरो 5 वर्षको कोर्स 3 वर्षमा सकाउन मिल्दैन?
गेट आउट।
हेलो,
के सोच्यो त?
के सोच्ने? मैले प्रिन्सिपलसँग पनि कुरा गरिसकेँ। 3 वर्षमा पनि केही हुन्छ? के हुन्छ 3 वर्षमा?
के भयो भाइ? ल बस। साउजी एक कप चिया। कसले भन्यो 3 वर्षमा केही हुँदैन भनेर? यो हेर, एलआइसी नेपालको धनवृष्टि योजनामा 3 वर्षमा पैसा फिर्ता हुन्छ।
ए हो र?
जीवन बीमाको साथमा धनवृष्टि 3 वर्षमा। एलआइसी नेपालको धनवृष्टि योजना। एलआइसी नेपाल।
Warm services to delight your senses. Taking hospitality to newer heights. Nepal Airlines.
What role does language, music, and oral story telling play in preserving Sherpa heritage? And did this, show up in your book as well?
The whole Sherpa language, it's a script that was, orally transformed. So there are some elements of this magic realism in our book, where we talk about dreams. Some of the Sherpa saints, some of the Tibetan Sherpa saints had 200, 300, 400 years ago, how they came from Tibet to here. Some even flew across mountains. So there are these stories that come up, and all of this story, it's very hard to find in it's very hard to find in the written form. So these are all oral histories transformed from one generation to another, and that's
Right.
still happening. But again, like I said earlier, into your earlier question, it's all diluting in a very fast pace, I would say, in today's world that we live in. So so when we say there is no written history, everything is oral, so that's one part of how we see things, and how things happened through generations until now. But if we
Right.
want to talk about preserving from this moment, from this time, from where we stand today, there has to be a structured, organized intervention to how we preserve things, how we take things down to the next generation, and how we keep things living
Exactly.
on the longer
Exactly.
run.
Yeah. And Ankit, you understand that, Nepal's economy heavily relies on tourism, particularly mountaineering. In your opinion, how sustainable is this model in the long run?
So this is a very a pertinent question, as in so we have Mount Everest, we have Sherpas, and we have a very rich history of how Sherpas have led climbing in the forefront. So
Right.
so these are the things that we already have by default, right? So this did not necessarily come from a very organized, very structured intervention from government or any agency. So these are the things
Right.
that just happened for us by default.
Mm.
So this is what we have at hand. And as long as there is Mount Everest, as long as, even if there is no snow, I'm sure we'll come to climate change a little bit later. Even if there is no snow in the Mount Everest, there is a piece of rock that is tallest, people will still want to come and climb it, right? So, so we're not going to lose that interest. So there will be changes to how people will want to pursue climbing.
Right.
It
Right.
may not happen the same way it's happening now, but people
Right.
will be there who will be interested in climbing Mount Everest. And as long as Sherpas are there, Sherpas will still be at the forefront, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so but like I said, uh, just because things have happened for us by default so far, without much contribution from each sector, uh, we can't say that things should remain the same forever,
True.
because like we see, a lot of climbing, it's already happening from the other side of the mountain, from the
Mm,
northern belt. For alpinists, they regard climbing from Nepal as the pristine, as something that has more of this alpine value, but it's happening on a very increasing trend from the other side of the mountain, which is Tibet. So there are these losses that we might have to incur if we don't be conscious, and we don't consciously act upon how we can contribute to this whole industry as a nation, as a government.
right. No, I was
Mm.
coming to a point of climate change. In fact,
Mm.
with climate change impacting Himalayan
Right.
glaciers, what challenges and risks do you foresee for both Sherpas and the trekking industry?
The first one, it's the risk that is ever increasing in the mountain, the Khumbu icefall region that starts immediately after you leave the base camp for Camp One. So
Mm,
there is this moving piece of ice that is highly vulnerable to disasters. That's where the 2014 avalanche happened, and which killed 16 Sherpas.
right.
So uh, that's a very vulnerable piece of climbing Everest for many climbers. That is the most challenging part. I mean, it's not even at Camp 2, or even when you go higher up the mountain. So it's not uniform across everyone who climbs Mount Everest, but for
Right.
many we have interviewed, the most trickiest part, the most challenging part, and the most risky region is the Khumbu Icefall region. So that's
Okay.
right above base camp. So the first, uh, uh, I would say, is the increased risk to the Sherpas, because it's Sherpas who fix the ropes there.
Right.
It's Sherpas who carry all the amenities, all the loads,
Yeah.
food, you name it. I mean, it's this initial lot of Sherpas that go and do this ground laying work for the other climbers who can follow later
Mm,
on. So it's the increased risk for Sherpas. Uh, the Khumbu Icefall region, it's getting more and more risky. That means the risk is multiplying for Sherpas, right?
right.
And then even when you go higher up the mountain, the same things are happening. uh, People are having to frequently uh, switch between crampons and normal boots. So these things are not very normal when you climb, when you do your business in such high altitude. The first risk of I mean the first impact of climate change, I would say, is the increased risks, not just for Sherpas, but more for Sherpas, because they are the ones who take care of a lot of things in
Yeah, they're
Mount
directly
Everest.
out there. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's one thing. And the other one, like I said earlier, I mean, the way climbing happens, right? uh, we have seen in the recent years an increasing number of helicopters that throng around the base camp, even Camp 1, even until Camp 2. So
Mm,
that's quite unhealthy, but that's how things are happening. That's also partly because of climate change, because uh, it's very risky, it's very uh, tricky to trade your journey along the Khumbu Icefall region. Some like to take flights up to Camp 1 to drop things off, even
okay.
up to Camps 2. Yeah. So there
Mm.
is this increasing number of uh,
Use of helicopters, right?
yeah, use of helicopter, use of choppers happening there. That's one thing. And again, because of the increasing risks in the Khumbu icefall, a lot of business has shifted to the Tibet. uh, I
Okay.
mean, climbing Everest from the north. So I mean, these are so it does not have only one facet. I mean, it's the
Right.
impact of climate change. It's multifaceted,
Mm.
and yeah. But like I told you earlier, with uh, all the climate change that is happening, with all the changes that is happening to climbing, people will still want to come
Yeah.
and climb Mount Everest.
Right. Ankit, I was wondering, whether, you felt and emotionally, um, was there any moment, what was the most difficult part of writing this book emotionally?
So there were many actually. Somewhere good emotions, somewhere bad emotions.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So uh, so we were interviewing this group of Sherpas in Forche.
Hmm.
uh, so they had been a part in uh, so they were in the same group that was taking goods up
Hmm.
in 2014 when the avalanche happened. So the scene that they described, it was really disturbing. I mean, it even came to my dreams a couple of times. I mean,
Oh,
yeah. So there was this avalanche, and one of the Sherpas described uh, when the avalanche happened, it stormed across a wall of of a face of the mountain, and
uh-huh.
then there were people that were stuck there, like
Oh,
nails in the wall. So
oh no.
that's the picture that he gave us. I mean, it was very
Mm.
disturbing, and there were lots of friends, people he knew, his
Right.
families, so that was very disturbing. And those sorts of incidents that it really kept happening throughout the book. I mean, uh, there are more tragedies than glories, I would say, in Mount Everest. So uh, so our book is all about that, and these incidents, these you know in the last chapter of our book, we talk about a Sherpa woman who lost her husband on top of the Everest, and
Right.
they couldn't even bring the body down because it's too damn expensive, right?
Mm.
So those kinds of stories. I mean, the this book has left us moved at so many different points. These
Right.
are all the sorrows, all the bad emotions that we were talking about, and there were good
Right.
ones as well. There were good
Mm.
ones as well. I mean, you will find this chapter about Kusang Sherpa. He is initially from Nepal, from Solu, from Makalu.
Right.
Yeah, so he went to Darjeeling, and he lives there with his family now. The journey of his life, it's very mesmerizing. I mean, he has had his struggle. He was once, sold to a labor camp in Bhutan, and then he made
Oh,
his way out of there, and then he ultimately went to Darjeeling.
right.
Even before he went to Darjeeling, he fell in love with someone in Sikkim. Their love
Okay.
story,
Right.
and then he made it really big for him. I mean, there are three phases to climbing Mount Everest. One is south,
Mm.
from the Nepal side, north from Tibet, and the east face that is also from Tibet. So the
Right.
east face, it's very tricky. I mean, in the entire history of Mount Everest climbing, there have only been less than 2 dozen climbs from that face, from the eastern face.
Mm.
And the Kusang Sherpa is the only living person on earth who has climbed Mount Everest from all three faces.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so that's how he made big for him. I mean, we so his story is really really inspiring.
It
And
is. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, those were some happy moments, some happy emotions that hit us differently, Pradeep and myself. Yeah, so there were this mix of emotions, but I would say again, like I told you earlier, if you weigh sorrows against the tragedies, against the happiness, against the stories of uh, achievements in Everest, I would say the sorrows are heavier. They grow
Right.
very, yeah.
Right. Ankit, your book, co-authored by Pradeep Bashyal as well, Sherpa, has really done well both nationally and internationally. And we'd like to wish both of you for continued success on that. And the other contribution is that you guys have met is to really bring forward the stories of Sherpa, who has immensely contributed to the national identity of our country itself. So, on that note, I really wish you good luck and thank you so much for your time, Ankit.
Thank you so much, Sumitji. It's been a privilege talking to you, and I really enjoyed, going back to some memories about writing Sherpa, how we did that through this platform and with you. Thank you so
Right.
much.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine, Ankit. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.